Hello and welcome viewers to the episode 8 of S.A.L.T, Sharing and Learning Together, a combined class project of Master of Divinity second year and Master of Arts in Clinical Counseling first year, both students of Oriental Theological Seminary. The participants are all students, and this is part of our learning journey under the course An Introduction to Pastoral Care and Counselling. Hence, this video is purely for educational and awareness purposes. My name is Mihimo Apon, and I'll be hosting this episode on sex within marriage. Sex is not just meant to be a physical act of pleasure. It was created for so much more than that. It is a deep expression of love, trust, and intimacy between two people committed sincerely to one another. And God's plan for sex within marriage also teaches us about intimacy and closeness to Him. Sadly, in today's fast-changing world, several factors are pulling couples apart as their intimacy is intruded by various factors which we'll be taking up for discussion. It is time to break the silence, address misconceptions, explore the emotional, physical, and spiritual dimension of marital intimacy, and provide helpful insights for couples seeking deeper connection and understanding with one another. Joining me on this discussion is Sister Ruth Kale and Brother Lete Wetsa. Both of them, of course, are students of Oriental Theological Seminary doing their Master of Divinity second year. All right, to proceed with the discussion. For a married couple, physical intimacy is a given, and perhaps with that mindset, many may tend to undermine its importance. So can one of you kindly remind us once again how significant or important is sexual intimacy within marriage?
Marriage is a divine institution established by God as a covenantal union between a man and a woman. Sexual intimacy within a marriage is also a gift and a blessing from God, as can be seen in the book of Genesis and Hebrew. Sexual intimacy is significant within a marriage as it binds the relationship between a man and a woman. Sexual intimacy is significant within a marriage as it binds the relationship between a husband and a wife closer. It is a deep connection that goes beyond the physical act of sex, that involves feeling of closeness, trust, and vulnerability shared between the husband and wife that makes the sexual experience more meaningful and satisfying. And sexual intimacy is a way where married couple can express affection and desire for each other. When we look at Proverbs chapter 5, it talks about finding joy, satisfaction, and delight in one's spouse, particularly in the context of marital love and intimacy. Therefore, sexual intimacy is important to strengthen marital bonds.
Thank you so much, Ruth, for reminding us about the importance and significance of sex within a marriage. I think we tend to take these things for granted because we always have a partner with us, and that's where problems and issues starts to rise. And as you have very clearly pointed out, sex, we believe, is a gift from God, a part of God's beautiful design. So having said that, what are the biblical teachings on sex within marriage?
Well, I also want to say that sex is a holy gift from God, but we also need to know that it is to be enjoyed within the covenant of the marriage. Saint Augustine, one of the early church historian, he said that the sexual desire is the result of the fall. Well, I also agree with that. And also coming back, he also said the primary purpose of the gift of sex is for procreation. But I will say that is not everything. So I come up with 3 points. That is, of course, procreation, intimacy, and oneness. So coming to the Genesis chapter 1 verse 28, we see that God blessed the Adam and Eve, to be fruitful and to multiply. So this shows that God's purpose of creating a sex is to continue the humanity of life. And the another thing is oneness. Coming back to Genesis chapter 2 verse 24 here. So in Genesis chapter 2 verse 24, when we look here, so a man shall leave a father and mother, and they shall live as a husband and a wife, and the two shall become one. So this talk about oneness. So when we look here, it's not talking about only the physical relationship, but it talks about emotional relationship as well, and also the spiritual intimacy as well. And another thing is talking about the intimacy or something to do with the pleasure here. So we look at the Proverbs chapter 5, as our friend has clearly mentioned, and also looks all the Song of Songs here. We see that sex is something not about shame, but it is something to do with beautiful, a passion for one another, a love and a comfort on one another. And coming back to New Testament, we also see in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, where Paul talks about a husband and a wife to meet each other's needs. And also Hebrews chapter 13 verse 4, we see clearly that keep the marriage bed pure. So this shows that marriage, the sexual intimacy is to be done only within the marriage. And that is clear. And another thing is, that is why the sexual intimacy is a gift of God to sustain love, to protect marriage, and also it's an honor and respect of God's purpose in human life.
Thank you so much, Letty, for giving us that biblical understanding of sex within marriage, which is for procreation, intimacy, and also oneness. And also, with that understanding, I think our understanding of sex within marriage becomes much clearer. And if the Bible says it's important for marriage, if the Bible says it's important for procreation, also for that feeling of intimacy and oneness, then I think we really need to be taking these teachings not for granted, but very seriously in order to protect our marriage and to fulfill the marriage purposes that God has intended for it. So talking about biblical teachings, sadly in today's world, what is happening is we are trying to push these biblical values behind us and trying to formulate our own values and trying to understand each other from our own selfish physical desires. And I think that's one of the reasons why we see many issues cropping up between married couples. So having said that, there may be many other contributing factors as well. So can you kindly walk us through some of the contributing factors that is leading to the increase in issues related to sex within marriage?
There are so many factors contributing to issue related to sex within marriage, like lack of sex education, lack of information, or lack of premarital counseling and all. But I'll be focusing on the main points. In a marriage, couple may have different opinion on what is enjoyable or acceptable to each other during sex, such as like oral genital contact or different kind of sex positions. And these differences can create a significant barrier to sexual satisfaction if they are not met. And when we talk about guilt can also be a significant barrier in a healthy and fulfilling sex life. Regret and shame about past sexual experience that a partner had before marriage can be a hindrance or can also affect their current relationship. And in case of survivor of abuse or rape, they may also struggle with this feeling of guilt, shame, or anxiety in their sex life. Guilt and shame can also make it hard for a married couple to connect with each other on emotional and physical level. And when we talk about cultural value also plays a very important role in shaping attitudes towards sex. In traditional settings, we can see that sex is taken as a shame or something like it is only meant for a childbearing, and this attitude prevents the couple from experiencing sex as a gift or as a love. On the other hand, when we look on the modern perspective, sex is portrayed as casual or without commitment, which encourage unfaithfulness or dissatisfaction in marriage life.
Well, I also want to supplement one point here, and in my sister's point. One issue that I also want to bring is the social media influence and pornography. This is something so obvious, I would say. So, so many couples, it's like misusing of the social media and the platform, all these things. It's like giving a sharp object to a young boy or a baby girl or a young children where they don't know how to use, and though it can be cut for use for a better purpose, they cut just use it for cutting their hands, all these things. So like sometime after by looking all these things, it influence, and the social media bring a sexual object, the image in such a way that the couples now expect a performance rather than love. So that become a very big problem here. So yeah.
Well, yeah, I think that's very true, and thank you so much, both of you, for very clearly highlighting for us the factors that are contributing to issues that is cropping up within sex and marriage, and creating, of course, lots of problems for married couples. Those warning signs, the factors that Jeff highlighted can serve for us as warning signs. They can serve for us as markers as what not to do, and also to be sensitive to each other's need. And also, I think even for viewers back at home, if you are young and intending to get married, I think it will be very good for us and helpful for us if we can remember those contributing factors so that we don't make the same mistake and regret later on in life. Oh, having said that, and unresolved, or for that matter, sexual issues within marriage can create lots of unnecessary repercussions or unnecessary troubles in a family. So, what are some of the impact, that or crisis that can potentially arise out of a sexual issue in a marriage?
Well, when we look here in the couple, I will say sex brings together the couple together, but sex also breaks down the family, the couple, in this case. So, I want to bring an analogy of a fire. The fire is something very good, right? So we can use it for cooking, we can use it for warming ourselves, and we can use it for so many ways. But another thing, there is a but here. So if we misuse that fire, that can become like a wildfire. They can burn the whole earth. Also, they can burn down the whole property that you have. So it depends on the how you use actually. So some of the dangers that I want to bring, if it is not resolved in the right time. So one will be the emotional distance. So even though the couples may be living together under the same roof, they will be like strangers, not being able to share their deep feelings or their problems together. So they can bring another big problems in this issue. And another thing is loss of joy in intimacy. So when sex become something to do with like duty or performance, this can become a problem as well. And another thing is when it comes to the infertility case, I want to make clear that a couple need to make one another understand in such a way, or else if they end up blaming one another, what it means to be happiness will become something a burden for one another. And another thing is here misuse of sex. So if we use the sex not as love, and if we use it as something to do with a weapon to threaten the another partner, then this becomes a problem as well here. So it if we become so selfishness, we just look for our demands, we just think of ourselves, then this becomes a big problem in the family, in the couple, within the relationship within the couple. So, and it also destroy the dignity and respect that should be present in intimacy.
Well, yeah, thank you so much. I think that makes a lot of sense, and it's really scary to think that we should just leave this issue unaddressed, especially keeping in mind the serious repercussion that it can have, not just for the married couple, but also for the family as well. And I think one of the key points in working out this is to really communicate each other's feelings and preferences with one another. So it is imperative for married couples, to really work out and communicate their physical needs. But it is not all as easy as it sounds. It is not very convenient, or for that matter, very easy and natural for people to talk about their personal life, let alone, talk about the intimate details of their sexual lives. But but for couples, who are struggling with sexual challenges in their marriage, they really need help, So, what are some of the ways, or how can we help them navigate through this crisis, especially, of couples struggling with sexual issues in their marriage?
In my humble understanding, the key factor to navigating this crisis is communication. As you have said, communication is the main factor. Until and unless we sit down and reason together, it is going to add more problem to the existing crisis. Like, there will be times when both may not agree to one another, yet there should be a space for mutual ground and agreeing to disagree, respecting one another. In case of sexual life, both need to bring their opinion or interest to the table and reason together in order to understand each other better. Sexual desire and sexual intimacy plays an important role in a healthy marriage life. So seeking help from counselors or medical professionals may also help married couple to deal through this crisis.
Well, I also want to supplement here in continuation with seeking a professional help. So like here, I think we need to break the shame culture that we have in us. It's like to talk about sex is something that we feel ashamed in our culture, in our society. But I will say not everything can be resolved between the couple as well. So in a time such as this, instead of feeling shame to speak out, we should always reach out to the professional who can give us the advice and for help, and they will surely help us.
Well, I think those measures will really help couples who are struggling with sexual issues to become more effective in communicating with one another, and also to relate to each other in a more intimate and a personal way, even through their sexual experiences. And of course, like you have mentioned, there is no shame in looking for help. Help is always available. All we have to do is just ask. And I think there are many professional counselors available, or for that matter, even we as a community of faith, as believers, we can always help out each other in whatever ways that we can, even through prayers and little words of encouragement. So thank you for clearly giving to us those helpful and very constructive measures to deal with sexual issues within marriage. Well, love and romance, these things are easy to speak of. None of us, especially here, have not experienced what it is like to actually settle down permanently with another individual. And only married couples can speak for themselves. But I think, we can at least surmise that keeping the romance alive is difficult, and it's not easy as it appears to be. So one word of encouragement, for those couples out there who are facing this kind of challenge to keep sexual and romance alive in the marriage.
Yeah, so like romance actually fades due to stress or their daily responsibility that they have, the workload that they have, or let's also include the infertility that have and that have a tendency to lose their romance in their life. But I will say, romance is not only happen. It should not be happening only in the early marriage or early life together. And like you say, it must be really hard when the reality hit. In this case, like a couple, it must be really hard to think also. But what I want to say is like we also need to come together with an understanding of one another, to support one another, to help one another, to understand one another. Like uh, a small thing maybe, but cooking together, I think that can also help us to understand, to love one another, and for sure, praying together. That is something very important, and they can really bring together us. So that's what I want to say, and also I want to include one more thing. That is making time together. In this world, as long as we live, the world will always be there for us. We will be busy. One word after word will come. But what we need to do is we need to make a time for one another to go together. If we need to go for picnic, go. Yeah, that's what I would say. If you need to go and enjoy the life, enjoy the nature, just go. That's what I will say. And the encouragement that I want to say is, yes, it may not be easy, but I would say marriage is a journey of healing. So, and also growth and also discovery of intimacy. Ecclesiastes chapter 4 verse 12 says, a cord of three is not very easy to be broken. So, I think that's true. A bundle of sticks, if we put it together, then it's very hard to break. So in our life, in a couple's life, we need to put God and live together as three so that our marriage, our life will become stronger and it will not be broken easily. But we will continue to shine brightly.
Yeah, thank you, Lete, for those words of encouragement. As we draw our discussion to a close, it is worth reiterating that healthy marital intimacy is built on communication, respect, mutual understanding, and trust, and not on assumptions or societal pressures, as we have already mentioned in our talk. Marriage is a lifelong commitment, and nurturing intimacy, hard as it may be, is one of the many ways we can strengthen that bond, keeping the marriage alive till death do us part. Thank you for joining us today for this important discussion on sex within marriage. Until the next time, grow in love, grow in deeper understanding in one another. This is Sharing and Learning Together, episode 8. Thank you.